Okay, it says we are live as it's kicking up. So are you noticing anything yet? Oh, I think we're there. We are there. Welcome everyone to the Fibromyalgia Advocacy Rally. This is the Road to Advocacy Day on May 11th. I am joined by these amazing fibromyalgia delegates who will be taking congressional meetings on the Hill this Wednesday. And we have additional ones too that are joining us as well. So I'm so glad to see all of the wonderful faces on here. We do have emojis. So if you guys, anyone at any point in time feels like doing emojis and celebrating, because this is a huge deal. Thank you to everyone. I appreciate your time and energy in joining us and making fibromyalgia history on the Hill. We're going to be doing some just roundtable discussions and just asking people about their experience before, why they joined. There's the no. But I want everybody out there to remember like why advocacy matters, why research matters, and connect these dots together. Because a lot of you are asking for more research. You want more assistance and more treatments in the doctor's office. So we're going to connect the dots for you today in the research category. There is a link in the description. I'm going to encourage everyone to check out for the NIH category spending. So go over to that link, type in fibromyalgia and look at the current research that's being funded and let us know your thoughts and what you think can be improved. Because if you're not getting what you need at the doctor's office, might be a big, huge reason. You'll notice why. So let's kick it off with, I'm just going to structure in popcorn style. And when I call on someone too, you can introduce yourself a little bit and then go into the question. So I'm Melissa Tolwar. I'm the executive director of the Support Fibromyalgia Network, and I'm also a board certified functional medicine coach. I am so excited and loved seeing all of you. I wish we could be in person, but it is very fun to do this virtually still. So one of the big things that we're learning with advocacy and asking, why does advocacy matter? And I want to toss it over to Estella to answer this question. So why is fibromyalgia advocacy in particular, specifically for fibromyalgia, why does it matter?
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here, as another one of the fibromyalgia advocates. And for me, and for, our organization, Looms for Lupus, we want to stand up and have our voices heard. I live with fibromyalgia. My daughter lives with fibromyalgia, my sister, my aunt. So for me, it's personal. And advocacy to me means for me to be able to share my voice. We work in the community and I get to share the voice of others that are living with fibromyalgia. And without our voice, people, won't hear what we have to say, how fibromyalgia impacts our life, how much research we need so we can have, better lives, how fibromyalgia impacts us and in everyday life. So it is very important for me to advocate. I've been advocating for lupus and fibromyalgia and so many other things. So I think it's very important that we all get together, unify, and raise our voices. We need our voices amplified. So that's why I do it.
And Crystal, what about you?
So I am someone who lives with fibromyalgia as well, and I am also an Army veteran. So I walk both worlds of both the veteran care system along with private health care. And, advocacy is important to me because if we don't advocate, we're going to stay where we are instead of getting to where we should be. And in this case, in order to get to where we should be, we need everyone's voices to amplify the needs of the community and drive that funding resources up and advocate for more money for target specific research for fibromyalgia, because otherwise we're going to continue to see inequities in healthcare, doctors discharging patients because they don't think they can either treat the condition or they don't think that a specialist is needed for fibromyalgia, or they still are stuck on some very old historical stigmas and stereotypes that fibromyalgia is not real. And this all leads to marginalization of our population, which is already marginalized. It continues the inequities, it continues the bias. And at the end of the day, without this advocacy, we're at home trying to figure out like the plethora of issues with fibromyalgia. And so that's why advocacy is important, because it's not just impacting us individually, but it's impacting everyone living with fibromyalgia. And what we do here in the United States will also impact others in other countries, because they will follow suit with what we accomplish.
And it impacts a lot of people. And we have people here too on the call that are headed to Capitol Hill that represent their organizations or support groups. So they speak for those voices of the community that they are representing. And I know, Quinette, you joined us last year and you're speaking for an organization that you've established, and you do a support group as well. So what have you noticed of like why fibromyalgia advocacy matters to them?
Hi, everyone. Antoinette Rollins. I am the founder of Freddie J's Fibromyalgia Fighters and the podcast Pretty in Pain. I have learned that, like myself, there are many others that went years when there was just no activity in the community. Education was limited, and I have a sister who has had it since the 90s. So I've been dealing with fibro in my life for 30 plus years. There has not been enough movement in the field. We have a lot of doctors that are trying to get on board and get educated, but they're not educated. And we have a lot of patients and people like me who want the information, want a better lifestyle, want to be able to thrive, that have walked away from careers and jobs, and they are very frustrated and need to hear their voices heard. So advocacy is we need everyone from patients to advocates to get on board to say, okay, we understand that you don't understand this, but help help this situation and get funding for fibromyalgia, because if we had it before, I think we'll be much further, but we're not at this point, and it's okay. So just from here on, I muted myself, that's me. But we need Congress and anybody that's willing to get on board and to educate, to get behind us, to support. We need the help in this community. We have a lot of people who are at their wits' end in pain, just in daily pain. I was like that. It took me to like 2017, 18 to say, okay, I have to find a different way, because this is not the life for me. And it's a lot of people who've just been newly diagnosed or who are in the thick of it, and they just don't know what to do. And we need help. And it's going to take everybody to be on board for we can move education, move a cure, better treatment options for fibromyalgia.
I love all the energy coming out from like Freddie J's. So, and plus Michigan too. So I want to give a shout out to Michigan. You guys are united and organized. So there's a lot of great energy coming out of there. I'm glad that you've connected all together. I want to continue with some of this theme here, because I know Lois also represents a support group in the state. So Lois, have you noticed, and like, what do you see of why fibromyalgia advocacy matters to you and your group?
Well, I think it matters a lot because we need to get, not only do we need to get the word out there that we're real and we're here, but we have to help a lot of these people accept the fact that they have it and find a physician to help them deal with it. And that's one of the big problems here around the Muskegon, Michigan area. We have no doctors that will take us on. So we're basically on our own dealing with it. I think we need a lot more research, more doctor education. But as I stress in my group, we need patient-physician partnership. Because if you don't work with your doctor, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna do you any good at all. So I kind of push the patient-doctor partnership, and we need educational, more information, more research, so that I can go back to these people and say, this is how I can prove this works.
It's all connected, and we're noticing that with Project Echo and putting together continuing medical education credits, because we need evidence-based science. They keep referring us to evidence-based science in order to teach new things beyond the things that they do teach to doctors, with like exercise, which makes me cringe with that word, and then CBT and stuff like that. So we need diversity and looking at some of the other diseases and what they're getting. And we have a good idea of the success of other diseases in other spaces and where they're getting funded and what they're seeing results are. And they can actually utilize that in doctors' offices. So doctors can actually go on label, like this is mechanisms that they can do, and hopefully have efficacy that's more than 25% in our fibromyalgia population. And I know this relates to Katie, because I know Katie in the similar area, she reached out to an established, well-known name in fibromyalgia and was deferred to a doctor in a different state, correct, Katie? And so what kind of advocacy, like, why do you feel that advocacy matters, Katie?
Well, my name is Katie Clark and I live with fibromyalgia. I was diagnosed about, it's going on 5 years now. I'm a retired teacher because that last year when fibromyalgia really hit hard, I had to retire and I did not want to. But luckily, I'm somebody who loves to learn and I've done a ton of research. And I stumbled upon Dr. Daniel Claw, who is one of the world-renowned researchers for fibromyalgia. He really knows his stuff, and he's at the University of Michigan. And they used to treat people with fibromyalgia in their rheumatology department there. And that was kind of a special place to go. And even Dr. Daniel Claw, I believe, treated some patients a while back. However, they do not anymore. And while I am doing pretty well, luckily, I'm in a small town called Newaygo. It's very small. And my little Jeep, my doctor here at least has trusted some of the research I've presented him on different kinds of treatments. And he's been willing to try them out with me and they have helped. But that's not a normal situation. Most doctors say it's not on label. This is not what the NIH says or CDC says. And right now the NIH and CDC have really outdated stuff. They're saying different things. They really have taken our disease, if you will, from the rheumatology and given us nobody. Nobody claims us. Not even chronic pain doctors claim us. I've gone to a chronic pain doctor and he's a follower of Dr. Claw, and he's he's wonderfully referred to me. But when I went there and told him what I was doing, he was like, "Good job, keep it up, keep doing what you're doing." And I'm like, I want somebody to guide me. I don't want to be my own guidance all the time. I'm tired of this. I want somebody else who knows a little bit more than I do. I'm not a medical doctor. So that's why I feel like we need to advocate. When I reached out to Dr. Claw, he was wonderful that he did respond to me. I just said, is there anyone in Michigan that you would suggest I go see? I will go anywhere and I will drive anywhere. And he said, the only person I could recommend is in Ohio, about 10 hours away from me. And I couldn't go to her because I was going to try over COVID time Zooming with her, but of course she can't see me because she's not licensed for the state of Michigan. So I'd actually have to go to her office.
And these are commonalities I'm hearing over and over again, because it sparked some interest a few years ago when someone tweeted at me that a university rheumatology hospital would not accept them as a patient because they were already diagnosed with fibromyalgia. If they had any other rheumatic conditions, they could be treated, but they were deferred over to just finding a primary care physician. So I'm hearing more and more of everybody out there who's getting deferred from rheumatology. They can diagnose you and rule out other conditions. But if you are already an existing fibromyalgia patient, it looks like they're moving you on. It's not everywhere, and we're connecting with rheumatologists that still do treat fibromyalgia patients, but it looks like it's a growing trend and obviously a gap that we need to fill. Maggie. So Maggie got to join us in the first year she was there. And it's a funny story because Maggie lives over in California closer to me, but she had to fly all the way to Washington, D.C. for the first time to meet her. It was awesome to connect with her. Maggie, why does advocacy matter to you?
Hi, everybody. It's nice to meet you all virtually. And yeah, like Mel mentioned, I live in Los Angeles, and I've been living with fibro for 5 years now. It's been a journey, as it has been for all of you. And I mean, I think that first year when I got the opportunity to go to the Hill has been for all of you with this lovely group. I mean, I think that first year. There sounds like there's kind of a echo, huh?
You're good. I muted
I'm
everyone.
good. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, the first year when I got an opportunity to go to the Hill and be with this amazing group and advocate, I just realized it's something I'm always going to be a part of. Like, doesn't matter what's going on. This will always be part of my life, because it's just, living with this condition is a challenge, and I know it's so prevalent. I think that that's something that really hits me on the head so often, is just the prevalence and the lack of funding. It's just not, it doesn't line up, the amount of people that suffer with this, and the fact that we don't even really have a category. We don't even really know the patho, is challenging, and it is definitely in my family as well. My grandma had it. She was never officially diagnosed, but she had all the symptoms. And my brother is also a doctor, and he deals with the symptoms. And I know it frustrates him to no end to not be able to provide. He does a lot of research on his own, being someone who suffers from it. But it's hard, because he said, when you go to medical school, you're taught, and what you're taught is to diagnose and to treat. And fibro is incredibly difficult to diagnose. And then once it's diagnosed, it's incredibly difficult to treat. And I think that is something that, the doctors, their hands are a bit tied. And so advocacy, and starting at the top through more research and proper classification and diagnostic tools, I mean, it's everything. And so I'm always going to continue to be involved as much as I possibly can. I think it's really important, especially now as we have so many people that are dealing with this post-COVID, and these long haulers and people dealing with mysterious illnesses. I mean, it really is even bigger prevalent problem than it was in the past. So I'm grateful to be able to be here. I'm grateful to be able to lend my voice, and to try and continue the dialogue forward. It's very, very important. So, yeah.
Well, we're glad that you can join us as a team lead this year and jump into these meetings.
Very excited. Very excited.
I want to jump over to Danielle G. So I know, having a science background, this has intrigued you. For you, why do you feel fibromyalgia advocacy matters?
Well, I feel it really matters for all of us. I mean, I've had symptoms since I was in junior high. I've struggled throughout college and starting to work. I work a full-time job, but that's all I'm able to do. And when I finally was diagnosed by my doctor, I was like, great, like they can give me something. I can do something about this. And it was like, well, you can exercise. And I was like, but that causes me to be in bed for 2 days. So then what? And he didn't have anything for me. So the more research I did on my own, having a laboratory science background, the more I found that there really wasn't a whole lot out there for us. Not only that, I have 2 kids, and like I really don't want them to someday go through what I went through, just for years not knowing what was wrong with me. So that's why this is really important to me. Even though this is my first year, I'm like all gung-ho about this. It's like, this is really important. So I'm glad to be a part of this.
Well, we're so glad to have you joining us. And for people that are joining us for the first time, we hope we don't scare you away. It is going to be some meetings, and it's Wednesday. Luckily, we can be a little bit more comfortable in our homes. It's definitely a different experience when you're on the Hill, and we'll have to go back to that eventually and figure out the best ways to maneuver going back and forth. I think our first year we were doing way too much walking from the House to the Senate buildings, and need to adjust that. But for the other Danielle, so Danielle P, what does fibromyalgia advocacy mean to you?
I mean, I think we do a lot of advocacy, just like every time we go to the doctors, honestly. I've had fibromyalgia for almost 17 years now. And I think that it's extremely important to have this advocacy, because for this whole 17 years, I've been given the same exact treatments every single time I've gone to the doctor. And I think that that's a huge problem, to only have a minimum amount of treatment given. And first of all, I mean, it doesn't work for me at least. And it's a very minimum amount. And then if that doesn't work, then they just push you. They've been pushing me to get this doctor, this. Oh, well, I can't treat you. I don't know what to do for fibromyalgia. I'm going to give you this doctor. I'm going to give you this doctor. So it seems like the doctors are not trained properly on what fibromyalgia is, or what treatments are, there needs to be more funding in that. So I think the advocacy in that area is extremely important, in the fact that in my 17 years, it's been consistent and repetitive. And to me, that is mind-boggling. So that's why I'm here too. One of the many reasons why I'm here to
Well, we
advocate.
welcome you and excited to have you working with us. It's fun for having all our voices together, because just like you said, it's like translating the research, the medical research, into the doctor's office. Because if you do look at some of the NIH reporting and some of the research, again, I'm not quite sure how this is going to translate to affordable treatments, accessible treatments that people can use, so it's consistent across the board. And we've kind of become like the new watchdogs on the spending. So I'm not sure what, I guess then that was opening up some money, like we're at $20 million. And just to give our viewers a context, it's like $3.3 billion get invested in these disease spending categories. And fibromyalgia for a long time was allocated $14 million out of that. I think we got a bump up. It's trending upwards. We like that, since we finally have been decided to tell them, hey, we need someone to keep an eye on this. So it is trending up, but now we got to make sure that we're opening up and asking for things that we're really going to translate in stuff to improving our quality of life and getting that classification. If we know where we're classified, it's going to help with all kinds of treatment modalities. I want to continue with the asking of fibromyalgia advocacy matters while we have the people online. So I'm going to toss it over to Kristen. So Kristen, why have you seen fibromyalgia advocacy matters?
Thanks, Melissa, and thank you to all the fibro leaders that have been leading the charge for all these years. I've watched you guys on the internet. You guys have inspired me in my healing and in my recovery. So I just want to tell you thank you for sharing all your information and leading. Also, just everybody, who's out there today who's fighting fibro, I understand that. I was, sick as a kid and we didn't know why. And, my dad was a doctor. And so we went to lots of doctors and we went through, lots of treatments. I went through 20 different drug treatments before the time I was 20 years old. And so I went through those experiences young in life, trying to figure it out. I always suffered from like 3 to 5 symptoms a day on average after that point, and certain things just didn't work for me. And so, later in life, I found ways to overcome and, work and get into work life. But, different things happen to the body and life happens, unexpected events happen. And I was living, a high stress job. I love what I do. I work in financial technology. I'm a passionate data scientist. So I love looking at data and figuring out how to solve problems. And I loved it a lot, so much that, I probably should have looked a little bit more at myself, for a while and thought about how could I invest in my own health. And then, things happened and I fell down 15 feet of stairs. And that really was my major catalyst for my body to just, go into inflammation. So many people have unexpected events like this. Life happens, whether, you have trauma or anything else. And so I know that everybody can suffer. And so that's why, I'm passionate about advocacy, because when I look at my own case, because of my background in technology as well as in data science, and then my family in medical, we took some really unique steps, right? And we sprang into action to invest lots of money and time into my rehabilitation. And the good news is that, after I had that accident, I went through lots of struggle for years, just struggling with, level 7, 8 pain and, just grabbing me all the time. And eventually my body went into right side weakness. And then, 9 months later, went into full body weakness. And that was after trying more treatments, right? And so different things happen. And what I'm here to advocate for is for goods and services access. If I could get strong after many years of rehabilitation and a focused story, why not everybody else? Melissa has been an advocate on my health council with Estella and Juana, and they've really, talked to me about where the spend and money is going. And it's just startling to me. Billions of dollars are going into research, but yet we're not getting the results for the patients. And so there's some great areas that this team is focused on. And I'm just so happy to advocate and support these good leaders that have been out here doing this fine work, because we can make a difference. I really do believe it. And if I can share my story with others and advocate for, funding, goods and services, nutrition, more physical therapy, other things that made a difference for my case, why not all of you? So my name is Kristen Tomasino. I'm here to advocate for y'all. Thank you guys for inviting me. And let's just go kick it in the butt. Let's just make it happen, all right? Let's get it done, Melissa. Let's go.
Awesome. Well, and Kristen's on Team California. And just to point out too, Danielle's New York, Danielle's North Carolina. So we're going to rally around everybody else. And I know I want to definitely make sure to there's 2 additional people in these meetings. I want to hear from them too, as we rally around the states, but definitely stay tuned for more state initiative rallies. So we're going to let you guys know the delegates from your states. We're putting that all together. So be sure to support all of these delegates. I don't want to tire them too out with this whole thing, because I've already tired them enough with all my emails. I think I sent out like 10 emails to everyone last night. I apologize, but we're working hard, everybody. All the fibromyalgia community out there know that these delegates are really digging in. We're asking them to turn their story of potentially many, many years into 2 minutes. So it's actually much more difficult than it sounds. So please definitely support them, share their posts, and continue to give them shout outs and energy their way, because we really need all the energy we can get at this point. But I want to toss it over to Lizzie. So I don't know if Lizzie, are you able to say a few things? And I know it's definitely, she's representing Puerto Rico. So we're excited to have you. Are you able to unmute yourself? Oh, she disappeared. So I don't know, maybe we'll come back to her. I put her on this spot. Let me unmute you and see. Is it working? If not, okay, you're unmuted. So feel free to share why fibromyalgia advocacy matters, and please do introduce yourself.
Bueno, Estela, a ver si me das la manita para poder entender. Creo que están hablando de experiencias que han tenido con la fibromialgia.
Sí, lo que queremos saber, Licia, es, pues, primero que todo, bienvenida para la abogacía, ¿no? Lo que vamos a hacer, pero queríamos saber por qué significa a usted poder amplificar su voz.
Okay. Bueno, saludos a todas. Es un placer aquí desde Puerto Rico saludarles. Para mí particularmente aquí en nuestra islita es sumamente importante unirnos a ustedes, porque ustedes saben que nuestro estatus político pues nos hace partícipe de unas ayudas, ¿verdad? De unos beneficios que tiene el gobierno norteamericano. Así que desde Puerto Rico yo abogar, ¿verdad? Ante la Cámara, ante el Congreso, a través de la comisionada residente, pues entonces le da a mi país visibilidad, ¿no? Y participación, porque al tener una comisionada residente ella tiene también voto, ¿verdad? Así que los beneficios que se logren también van a ser beneficiosos para acá, para la población de Puerto Rico. No sé si contesté lo que me estaba preguntando.
No, sí lo contestó muy bien. So
Gracias.
she's excited.
That's what I know.
So
My
she's
Spanish
excited.
teacher would be so upset at me. I got an award once. So thank you.
Yes. No, she is so excited to be representing Puerto Rico and to be able to share her voice and amplify their voice. She says, you know, we have voting power, so we want to join forces with you guys. We want to be part of this. She is very, very excited to be lending and amplifying the voice of Puerto Rico and meeting with congressional leaders. So for her, it's an honor to be able to do this. She's like, there's been so many, you know, things in politics, and to be able to represent and to be that voice, joining efforts is amazing. So I'm actually so excited as well, because, you know, a lot of people that, you know, not always think that they have a voice do, especially in the Spanish speaking community. We always, I shouldn't say we always, a lot of us feel that we are inferior or less than, and we need to realize that we have power with our voices. And so many of us are living with fibromyalgia, and we just need to unify. So gracias, Licia. Ya les dije que motivada está, y le digo que muchos de nuestras personas que hablan de nuestra comunidad que habla de la habla hispana, a veces nos sentimos inferiores y que no tenemos voz, y tenemos que unirnos para amplificar nuestra voz. So gracias.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, this is such an important topic for like even another day, as diversity in research, and really seeing all the diversity that can come into research and what's been, it's overdue in fibromyalgia. We've seen a lot of that. I've heard from a particular researcher as well, who is doing a research project and research survey. So we need to get more people involved in research than ever before, and men, women of all ages and all backgrounds to be more involved with research. It's going to be super important. And speaking of men with fibromyalgia, I wanted to see, I don't know if John is available, or Crystal, you told him what he was getting into, right? John, are you available to share a little bit about why fibromyalgia advocacy matters?
I can. I'm actually waiting for my son who's in the dentist appointment. So if somebody jumps into the passenger seat or I leave abruptly, you'll understand why. I've been listening and actually trying to sort of formulate why is advocacy important to me. And in no particular order, I think it's important that one of the things that I encountered early on was sort of the bias towards, well, that's a woman's problem. I when I was first diagnosed in 2009, it was 2010 or 2011 where I shared with a coworker that, you know, I had fibromyalgia, and he had a flippant response about, well, that's a woman's problem. Okay. So part of it is just standing up and trying to show that in addition to the diversity of symptoms, and no two people respond to the same treatment for the same symptoms the same way, that part of that diversity is also that men are affected by fibromyalgia. Another aspect of why I think advocacy is important is that I'm a relatively fortunate guy. You know, I have a good job, I make a good living, I have a lot of resources available to me that a lot of folks don't. And it damn near cost me everything. I mean, it did cost me a job, in that I had exhausted my FMLA protection and was on an unpaid medical leave that was not covered by FMLA, and the company took the opportunity to write my job out of existence. And it was financially very stressful, but I have resources I was able to draw upon that it was not more devastating than it was. And to get to the point, that's why I think it's important for me to advocate, because I'm now in a position where life is good, my health is good, and I have some excess capacity to give back. And if I can do something to expand research funding, get better education, help get the message out that it does affect men, and men shouldn't just tough it out, that, you know, if you're feeling like everything hurts all the time, go to the doctor and get it figured out. Now, I know it's not as simple as getting it figured out, but that's why I want to try to give back, because there are other men in other situations where they may not have the financial resources, they may not have the FMLA coverage, they may not have an employer that gives a damn. about providing reasonable accommodations. If I can do something to improve somebody else's situation, I think that's just part of what I should do. So thank you for the time and the platform.
Well, thank you, John, for joining us. I know you joined us too the first year where we're just getting started, and he's always helping me organize. So he's going to keep me organized. I promise you. I appreciate it. And
those in-person meetings, at least one of them, Uber.
Uber.
It was too far, and I hurt too bad to walk from like one side of the hill to the other, to go from like a Senate meeting to a congressional meeting or a House of Representatives meeting. So we took Uber.
And see, those are the things, like once we'll probably have a hybrid. I mean, I love virtual way too much, and we're going to figure this out as we move forward. But thank you to everyone too on this call, and for, raising your voice, because I know many of us were discouraged to even start this. In 2019, we were told that patients didn't care about advocacy. So I'm so glad we could do this, and we're connecting the dots to everyone. And if you out there want to get involved, I know we've closed registration for the meetings, but you can support all the delegates for your state. We have a link as well where you can contact your representatives and let them know that we're going to be at Capitol Hill this week. And we have a whole social media rally going on, but I want to close it out with Stella and Crystal, maybe sharing what are your top tips, Stella, for social media rally for anyone watching this right now.
Yes, please share these posts. Please make sure that you get information from us. If you need any information on how to reach out to your own legislators, if you don't know who they are, we do have the links, and reach out to us. You're not alone. We are in this together. So many of us are dealing with this condition with fibromyalgia, and it does impact all of our lives. And I think every single one of us here can relate to each other's stories. And the most important thing is our story needs to be told and needs to be heard. And that's why we're doing this. We're doing this for all of us. So I'm excited to be here. Reach out to us if you need any support. Reach out to us if you want to advocate further. You can do it publicly on social media as well. So go ahead, Crystal. You're next.
Actually, one of my favorite things to do is to rally on social media and get the community going and revved up. And a lot of people were not able to attend this year, even though they wanted to. We're not quite sure. How can I rally? How can I support everyone? What can I do to help move this revolution forward so we can get what we need and our advocacy asks met in order to positively impact the fibromyalgia community? So one way you can do that is you can write a post sharing briefly your story living with fibromyalgia and how more funding for fibromyalgia research that is specifically targeted for research, and how that would have helped you and how it will help future generations of people with fibromyalgia. And then you just tag your US senators and congressional leaders on that post. Another thing you can do, I do a video. I shared mine from last year because I haven't had time to do one this year, but you can also record a video or go live on one of your social media platforms, share your story and what would help positively impact the fibromyalgia community, and how, again, more funds needed for specific driven research for fibromyalgia, and tag your congressional leaders and your US senators. But hey, I know some people are not like me and are kind of shy, so maybe you don't want to be that open. You can share one of our posts and tag your representatives on that. Or you could tag your US senators and congressional representatives in this video here on the comment link, and I will make sure to post the link for you to look up your representatives by your address, and you can tag them on this video and say, please watch this video. Your support of the fibromyalgia community is going to positively impact the community, improve their healthcare outcomes and quality of life. Please support our mission. So there are some ways that you can participate on social media and still drive forward our advocacy initiatives to support everyone living with fibromyalgia, not just in the United States, but across the world, because we like to work globally as well.
That is awesome. So you heard Crystal and Estella. So tag us, share. I know Katie, I've been posting your blog from last year. She had an amazing blog where she did a video on Instagram sharing her story and what she was about to do. We had Christine post in the stories of Instagram. If you're on TikTok, there's so many ways to raise your voice, and please rally around these delegates and share what state you're rallying for, so we can connect you with that delegate, because we definitely want to have more delegates from all the states. So this is a great time to do advocacy. Anyone else have any closing remarks? If not, we'll close it out. Thank you everyone for being here. Definitely, Kristen, you got to give us that extra punch, because you kind of blended out, and I'm trying to see if I could do speaker mode, but
Did that blend out for you? Let me see if I can
yes.
get that again.
So
I've been
we'll
working
close
on-
out. We'll close out with a Kristen's punch. How's that?
All right, cool. So are you guys ready to make some change happen? It's time. This is our time. We can be empowered. There are so many of us that are examples of that. And so I just want you guys, don't give up hope. That's why we're rallying here, and we're going to represent, and we're going to make a difference this year and beyond. And we're not going to stop until we get answers. So let's go get it. Woo!
Yep, I love it. And I do have one more thing, and I think we have it on our t-shirts, is never give in, never give up, never let go, just keep fighting. And that goes right with that punch and rallying together. We got this.
We do, and we'll have more information on each of our delegates too as they share, because again, a lot of them are doing very important work in their communities. So they have support groups, they have other organizations, they're bloggers, they're vloggers. So support the community as much as possible, because again, you are not alone in this. Thank you, everyone. We will see you on the Hill on Wednesday. Bye.